Hello, my name is Karina Parator, and I'm a product manager in neuroscience discovery at Charles River Labs. Of all the diseases for which scientists are pursuing novel treatments and cures for, none are more daunting than CNS disorders. And there's many reasons for this. It's notoriously difficult to find compounds that will cross the blood-brain barrier, which dooms any chance of treating diseases of the brain. We also do not truly understand all components of CNS disease pathology, but there's hope. Researchers are developing biomarkers to better understand the mechanisms of disease progression. Cellular therapies also have the potential to treat, if not reverse, CNS disorders. There's also exciting work being done in the field of Alzheimer's drug development, which has led to a dismal track record in the past. Many of these ideas will be discussed at our virtual Neuroscience Day on November 4th, an event where Charles River will host a wide range of speakers from within and outside the company. With me to discuss what to expect at Neuroscience Day is Antti Nurmi, Managing Director of Discovery Services of all of our European sites, which has worked with many teams to develop CNS drugs. Welcome, Antti.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us today. I wanted to open up with some general questions about the world of CNS and brain disease. What, in your opinion, is the state of drug development in CNS diseases in particular, and why is it so hard to find therapies or drugs that work in the clinic?
Yeah, neurological diseases or brain diseases have been notoriously known to be hard to treat. Most of the treatments are symptomatic, so there's very oftentimes the situation that there's nothing really that cures from the disease. Of course, science is going forward all the time, and we deal with everyday new ideas in our labs, which is great to be there in the forefront to see these new ideas coming along. And I think that the whole environment from the science, but also from, let's say, the investments that are being put towards the neuroscience drug development have been going strong for throughout at least past decade or so, and we see that to continue also in the future. So I think that in general there is truly a hope and kind of a really push for these new ideas to come forward and also end up on the pharmacies, so that the future patients would benefit from these treatments. The actual neurological diseases themselves, why they are so complicated to treat, that's also a biological question to me. I have said this many times before, and I probably do not hold all the answers to that, but I think that there's a lot of science that needs to be done on a basic research level point of view. We need to understand the basic biology. We need to understand the basic biology of pathology, and through those kind of breakthroughs, I'm sure that we will get more clues what these diseases are about. We also need to understand the factor of aging, the factor of where we live, what is our life history in general, and also the genetics. So when you add all these components together, you got a fairly complicated puzzle. So in principle, I'm not that surprised that these diseases are complicated. And also to add that brains are a highly complicated organ, and therefore it's not a surprise to me that they are hard to treat.
Yes, and you mentioned age-related diseases. I think of diseases like Alzheimer's, with the exception of a few, genetic cases where there's early onset. Speaking of those types of disorders, have you seen the film Still Alice?
I have, and I enjoyed it very much. At the same time, while I was also a little bit scared to seeing basically that it was so well presenting that the progression and the slow progression of the disease, and also the how it impacts the whole family, not only the patient itself, but also the whole environment where you're living at, and that's the kind of the scary part of the film. But it was very well put together in many ways, not, on top of that, of course, good actors were involved, but the story was very, very good.
I agree. It was so profound. And it seems like there are more and more films coming out that are addressing CNS disorders, like Robin's Wish around Lewy body dementia, or the film that Will Smith starred in, Concussion, and things like that. Do you think movies like that will help researchers put their work in perspective?
I think so. I think that researchers know already quite well what these diseases are from biology point of view, what they are about. But I think that the general awareness also in the research community is important, that we understand from human perspective what it's about, what are we actually dealing with, and what are these patients dealing with. And it gives also completely different probably level of recognition to their work in general, that if they make these breakthroughs, when they do these discoveries, it can be very rewarding to see that I'm actually working towards to helping these individuals who are suffering from these diseases.
Definitely. And we had mentioned biomarkers early on. Do you think we're making headway in other diseases like Huntington's disease?
I do. Of course, biomarkers are something, it's almost like a bigger concept that oftentimes comes up, because they are simply the indicators of either the disease progression, or if we are talking about drug development, they are usually the indicators of whether we see some benefit or basically some sort of an interaction in a patient that can result in a beneficial effect. The problem with the biomarkers is that they are not that easy to detect, but of course there are many of them that are new ones are being discovered all the time. There are existing ones that are being used across different diseases. But then I think that in the future we will see more and more as a combinations of different biomarkers, and these combinations can be then more predictive than single biomarkers. Whether it's looking at signals from the brain or from your blood samples or something like that, but it's kind of a compilation of multiple biomarkers that may actually be more effective than just a single one.
Yeah, that's so interesting. What kind of techniques are being used to monitor biomarkers and disease progression?
Like I said, the kind of concept of biomarkers, it's very broad, and depending on who do you actually talk to, it can vary significantly. I guess the traditional way of talking about biomarkers is that it's something that you can detect from your blood sample, but we and many others also consider that to be much, much broader. So it can be electrical signal from your brain that you can measure. It can be basically a readout that you can do through, or basically monitor through imaging. In addition to the blood-borne biomarkers that you can basically detect by using specific measurement and so on. But it's a very broad concept, and it's probably also there the compilation of multiple biomarkers that will then provide us the best clues to these diseases.
So it seems the field might be moving away from small molecule development for CNS disorders. Do you see the wave of the future in therapies evolving towards cellular and gene therapies?
I do. Of course, they will be also in the future. I don't see a situation where small molecules would kind of go away completely. There's definitely a place for them, but we see increasingly more cell and gene therapies coming also to the neurological diseases. There are some diseases like stroke, spinal cord injury, brain trauma, where actually cell therapies are being explored quite significantly nowadays. The only problem with both cell and gene therapies are that they are large molecules or large entities, which are difficult to be delivered to the actual target tissue. But luckily there are techniques and technologies available that allow us basically to guide those molecules and cells to the right tissues so that they can really go to where they actually supposed to go.
Wow. It seems like there's a lot to learn at our virtual Neuroscience Day event. Are there any talks that you're particularly interested in or excited to hear?
I'm very much keen to hear, of course, the keynote speaker, Lisa Genova's talk. And then on top of that, I'm also very curious to see about the Huntington's treatment option now, in this case, for the AAV-mediated delivery by a company called Unicure.
Well, thank you for joining me, Auntie. I hope that you all join us for our virtual Neuroscience Day event. You can register by going to events.criver.com/neuronov. At the bottom of your screen, you can see the link to the website. Space is running out and slots are filling up fast for this virtual platform. So we really hope you'll join us. Thank you.